Here at Rebuild Studio, we've been playing a lot of Resident Evil 4 Remake, and our undisputed favorite part of the game is Ashley's section. The Placa Knights have stolen our hearts, so we looked to buy one for the studio. But we were disappointed to see our search was in vain. So let's spend no money and build one out of junk. I believe building the armor on top of something is the smart and, more importantly, easier than the alternative, so let's start with a good base. This 1964 Barbie I found in a McDonald's dumpster will be perfect.
Hey, the next time you get on my bus, make sure you take a shower, little lady.
Yeah, stick it in your ear, pal.
For material, let's use yogurt plastic. Starting with the armpit, of all things, I protected it with some perfectly cut plastic. How did I achieve a perfect circle? Well, these circles was obtained with Rebuilds' life savings. For kidney protection, some crafting foam hastily cut to fit will do. For the back, I used this toe-shaped piece of plastic. After that, I added some shoulder strapping that in hindsight you'll never see again. Finally, the chest plate requires some roundness, so I'm using egg babies. This is the first time I'm using Easter egg plastic, and I found if you looked at it enough, it would implode. But with some patience, I was able to cut and sand one that we can actually use. This green egg was the fifth one I attempted to cut, and the only one that survived the cutting process. The egg chest plate gave us a pretty decent shape. It does need more detail, but we'll do that later. Let's work on the arms, which means covering these noodles with about 1,000,000 pieces of orange foam. In my experience, using this 1mm crafting foam is the best material for quick doll clothing. There's just nothing that glues to the doll plastic better, and it does a good job retaining the body shape of the doll as well. Let's finish the arms off with some purposely cut pieces of yogurt plastic that were designed to slip right over the arms. These pieces are meant to be the bulky pieces of the armor, like the gauntlets and, these things, and those, and whatever these are, stuff like that. Next up is the legs, and I did exactly the same thing you just saw, so let's skip ahead to the boots. Now, I haven't made shoes before, so this is an experiment more than anything. I started with a large straw as the base and just wrapped plastic around it into a shoe-like shape. Then I slipped the slipper on the princess and filled out the rest of the shape with foam. Immediately, they look more like Dr. Seuss shoes than night boots, so I added more layers of plastic, and they're not what I wanted, but they're passable, I guess. Okay, the base of the armor is done. It just needs a pound of detailing. At this point of the video, the Mikus usually are getting into some sort of shenanigans, but sadly, not in this video. Because apparently they're hibernating for the winter. Yep, they totally built a rat nest on my desk. Let's give it a look, shall we?
Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'm gonna slap you silly!
Okay, let's not do that again. We'll just leave the little monsters alone. Next, let's finish up the overall shape of the armor, starting with the waist and hips. Let's give the knight some knee armor made out of egg plastic. Next, we add the shoulder armor made out of egg plastic and a Listerine bottle. Finally, some armor strapping. It looks pretty good, but we can do better. To eliminate all this empty space on the chest plate, let's add a quick, nonsensical paper braid. Okay, I remembered I had this, and this, and this. So I made 2 gems and glued the bigger one on the knee plates. The smaller one I glued on the elbow plates. All of this is looking good, but it needs about 1,000 rivets, made from super glue packaging and a 1mm hole punch tool. Okay, armor is done, and it came out better than Rebuilds ever thought. Can you believe that this was just a bunch of recyclables a few minutes ago? Rebuilds built the darn thing, and he can't even believe it. But we move on. Time for the helmet. I actually wasn't going to make the potato head. It was kind of a last-minute decision. I made the helmet out of tinfoil and oven-baked clay. After sanding it smooth, I glued on the faceplate and a plastic strip. It's not exactly scaled to the rest of the body, but it doesn't really matter. Next is the sword, and I actually have a toy sword, but it's a little small for this build, so let's put together a quick and dirty sword from scratch. I cut a blade shape piece out of plexiglass because it's a very nice, strong plastic. For the hilt, a Lego pipe, and for the pommel, a blue Lego gem. For the guard, I used Wiley Burp's badge. I added 2 beads, and the sword was done. Now it is time to do what Rebuilds has been avoiding this whole video. We have to sculpt the Placa head. I didn't really know how to do it, so I just jumped right into that water.
Bruh.
I formed tinfoil around the neck of the Barbie because the Placa will slip right over the neck nub and be removable. Before we face the clay, I used armature wire, or fluoro wire in this case, and gave the forecoming tentacles some bone. For the clay, just normal oven-baked stuff. I laid a base of clay around and then threw in an eye socket, but it looks more like a pistachio than an eye socket. Nyeh. I added a few more tentacles, but I actually found it easier to put the Placa into place than add more detail. I also put the helmet in place as well. Next, I cut 2 noodles out and wrapped them together like this. I added my double noodle to the head and blended it in as best I could. The helmet fits pretty good, but getting it off the doll was actually harder than I thought. But with a delicate touch, it came off and it was time for baking. After it was baked, I attempted to glue the pre-made eyeball into the pistachio-shaped eye socket, and it didn't go well.
Bruh.
So I rolled out some more clay and tried to make the eye a little better. Nyeh. Okay, sculpting is done, and it came out surprisingly close to what I imagined it would. But of course, the dreaded painting is coming up next. Since painting the Placa is scary and intimidating, let's start with the armor, which is a little easier. I used this flat black, which was mostly a mistake. There was way too many different plastic bits that wouldn't take paint with or without sanding, so I had to use multi-surface paint, and that stuff sticks to about everything.
Bruh.
Full coverage was achieved in about 3 coats. If you are wondering why I didn't use spray paint for the base, which would be the smart choice, well, it looks like this outside. Next up is Rebuilds' favorite part, painting with metallics. Now Rebuilds has never been shy about his love for all things metallic. He's like a baby with candy. I just can't get enough of metallic paint. I have collected many different colors, but for today we're going to use gold and silver metallic, which means we have to decide what color the knight has to be. Now gold is the obvious choice because of the remake, but I'm not a fan of the Golden Knights. Or because the Golden Knight is not in the original game, so we're going with the Silver Boy. First, let's put down a flat gray base coat because
we're really smart.
This will make applying the metallic easier and save on time. I'm using this beautiful silver, which is actually for glass. I got full coverage in 2 coats, but I put a 3rd just for fun. Let's use this brown to paint all the strapping. Next up, let's use the gold Rebuilds was bad-mouthing earlier and paint all the rivets, which was about 1,000 of them. Last but not least, we paint the ribbon, I guess. After that, the painting was done. Oh, and I also painted the helmet as well. What's that? Oh, it got the same jab. I mean, the helmet got the same color scheme. I really like how it looks. I think I captured the knight armor pretty good. But as Revolvo Ocelot said,
We're not finished yet.
we have to face the Placa. And since Rebuilds is a man, he's going to face his fears and paint it right now. All jokes aside, I have a pretty good idea on how I want to paint the Placa. We start with a chocolate bar base coat. Next is this barn red, which in hindsight is so similar to the previous color that it kinda was a waste of time. Now for the rest of the paint job, I kept it pretty simple. I took blue and red and lightly mixed the two to create this 3 colors on my brush. The camera has a hard time picking it up, but the blue, red, and purple rainbow of color does a good job of capturing the look of the Placa, and I was very happy with it, so I didn't mess with it any further. Painting is almost done. We just have to paint the pistachio eye, and this was a little intimidating. I started with a dark green, then I applied a puke yellow on top of it. Next I carefully painted the iris in, and then I added some red lines. They're a little too big, but they'll work. The last thing I did was apply UV resin to make the eye shine. And if you don't have resin, you can use nail polish top coat as a nice substitute. Okay, all the painting is done, and we're ready to finally assemble the knight. Okay, we need a base. Time is short, so let's speed run this. The base will be played by this dollar store foam disc. I added a wood platform, then a foam strip around the base just to make the edges look a little nicer. I painted the wood colors and finished it off with a beautiful black metallic liner. It was done, but it tasted a little bland to me. So let's head over to the remake and see what we can do to spice it up a bit. We join Leon in the blueberry, whatever that is. If I can direct your attention off of Leon and onto that exciting floor, that carpet sure stands out. Let's add that to the base. How to make it? Well, I had some paper mache left over from this video, so let's use it. After a quick coloring, we had a decent enough carpet. Oh, what is Rebuilds doing now? Oh, he cut a hole for a light box. But how is he gonna cover that ugly thing? Of course, scaled books. That's very smart. I've been told blueberries have them. What sort of trickery is Rebuilds doing now? I see, it's a light bulb. But what is he going to do? Oh, yeah, of course, the blue lantern. Wait, how did he make that? Well, I guess we're done. This build was both challenging and a lot of fun to do. If you want to see more Barbie destruction videos, I linked them in the description. And while you're there, check out my Resident Evil playlist. Lots of spicy crafts in there. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you don't want to miss my next crafting video, which will be totally psychotic, hit that subscribe button as well. Remember, be kind, rewind, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless and stay safe out there.